The monologues present the Fizzy Fuzzy Chronicles, a fictional true crime series inspired by Fizzy Fuzzy Big and Buzzy, the iconic album by The Refreshments. What you're about to hear is a reconstruction of events, interviews, recordings, rumors, half-truths, and very, very few good ideas. It's a story about love, sort of. It's a story about crime, definitely. This is the Fizzy Fuzzy Chronicles. And yes, it gets worse from here. In the aftermath of the Mekong fiasco, the tension between Jack, Diane, and Charlie was undeniable. At least, according to the records we've obtained. Charlie went on later to describe it as the moment that changed everything. In his interview with Detective Watts, he mentioned feeling haunted by the sound of the sirens, replaying the night on a loop. Diane's coin flip, the stolen cash, and the way she laughed even as the blue and red lights closed in. He second-guessed every choice that brought him there, questioning whether he was a bystander or an accomplice. Jack's state of mind is harder to piece together, but the data we pulled from his phone paints a clearer picture. A series of unsent text drafts recovered by investigators tell the story better than he ever could. "I don't know how to stop this. She's already talking about something bigger." Or, "We should have left town last night. It's too late now." Or, "Charlie's scared. So am I." Although we don't know who these texts were meant for, we see Jack's psyche clearly. Diane, though. Diane was already moving forward. According to surveillance footage from a nearby gas station just hours after the incident, she was calm, almost relaxed, yet energized. Eyewitnesses said she was in control, gripping the wheel, giving orders, eyes already scanning the road like she was 2 steps ahead of everyone else. One source, a former co-worker, described her as having a heat-seeking missile mindset. Once she had a plan, there was no stopping her. This was the calm before the storm, though. A brief pause where all three sat in the wreckage of their choices. Jack and Diane brainstormed half-baked schemes for a bigger payday, talking in hushed tones in the front seat, while Charlie wrestled with the sick realization that the wheels were already in motion. What none of them realized, however, was that Mekong wasn't the end of their chaos. It was merely the sucker punch before the knockout blow. The following accounts were taken during separate interviews with Jack Tremaine and Diane Parker, conducted some time after the event. What you're about to hear is their recollection of the critical moments after Mekong, a crossroads where a reckless idea became something far more dangerous. Though they were questioned separately, their accounts overlap, revealing not just shared guilt, but an undeniable codependence. Listen closely, and you'll see how the story fractures and where the truth lies in between.
If you ask Jack, he'll tell you that I was the one always pushing. Like I was the mastermind, the one who couldn't sit still. Maybe that's true, but what he doesn't get, what none of you seem to get, is that I had to keep moving. If I didn't, we'd be stuck. Back in that crummy apartment, staring at bills we couldn't pay, waiting for the universe to hand us something. The universe? It never hands you anything. You have to take it. That night after Mekong, we were just driving. Nowhere special. I wasn't even thinking about cops or headlines. I was thinking about how nothing had changed. We'd run, but we hadn't moved. Jack was next to me, all quiet, acting like the weight of the world was on his damn shoulders. Kept staring out the window, all broody, like the answers were out there, somewhere in the streetlights. I was done waiting, done feeling small. I kept thinking, we can't keep doing this. We need something, anything to break the cycle.
Diane. Yeah, she was quiet that night. Unusually quiet, now that I think about it. She was drumming her fingers on the steering wheel, this nervous little rhythm she does when she's thinking up trouble. I didn't ask her what was on her mind. I didn't have to. I already knew. It was the same look she's always got right before things spun out. Thing is, I didn't stop her. I never stopped her. I just sat there, watching the road disappear under the headlights, telling myself we've had enough for one night. We could pull back from this, whatever it was we were doing. But the truth? Well, I guess I was waiting too. Waiting for her to say it out loud. Like I needed the excuse. Like I couldn't have it be my idea. 'Cause, as you know, she makes you want the chaos. Not me. Makes you believe you're better when you're right there in the middle of it with her. And back then, I still wanted to believe I was enough for her. Enough to keep the fire burning without burning us both down.
So I said it. I just said it. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I said, Jack, what if we did something outrageously big? What if we stopped waiting and made something happen, really made it happen? He didn't say anything at first. Just shook his head like he could shrug it off. But I saw his jaw clench. The way his fingers curled tighter around the door handle. People think I dragged him into everything, like I held his hand and forced him to cross every line with me. But he was already halfway there. He just needed the push. And I gave it to him.
She said something about doing something big. About taking control. God. I remember how she looked at me. Like it wasn't even a question. Like a dare. And I knew. I knew it was a terrible idea. I kept telling myself it was just talk. Just her being Diane. Reckless. Bored. Looking for the next thrill. But I think deep down, I knew it wasn't. Not this time.
He acts like I twisted his arm, like I forced him. But Jack wanted it. He needed it. The adrenaline, the rush, the feeling like we were in control for once instead of getting kicked around by life. He'll never admit it, but he was just as caught up in it as I was. Maybe more. And when I told him we had to stop waiting for the perfect moment, that we had to make our own luck, he didn't argue. He just sat there, staring straight ahead. Then he nodded, just once. That's all it took.
I tell myself I didn't agree. Not really. But when she said it, when she dared me to think bigger, I nodded. God help me. I just nodded. And that was it. The moment it all shifted. I wasn't thinking about consequences. Wasn't thinking about what it'd mean for us or for Charlie or for anyone who'd get hurt along the way. I just wanted to be the guy she believed I could be. Maybe. Just maybe. I wanted the danger too.
Funny how Jack always says he didn't have a choice. But the thing about choices, we usually don't recognize them until they've wrecked something.
Because as much as he hated the chaos, he needed it.
Because as much as I hated the chaos, I needed it.
It was the only thing that made us feel alive.
Two voices, two versions of the same moment, and somewhere between their words lies the truth. A truth tangled in adrenaline, codependency, and a need neither of them could quite explain. And the decision they made that night? It wasn't just reckless dribble. It was the spark. During Charlie McGregor's final recorded interview with Detective Watts, we are able to reconstruct the events of that fatal evening. What you're about to hear is raw, unpolished. His hands shook the whole time. You can't hear that, but trust me, it matters. It reveals how a reckless idea spiraled into a night of chaos, violence, and irreversible damage. What began as a whispered suggestion on the road somewhere hours after Mekong would soon turn into a rampage. A series of robberies so absurd, so reckless, it left both lives and livelihoods in its wake. Because in that moment they were the, as we have learned, and what Jack and Diane called themselves, the Banditos.
They told me to be ready by 7 p.m. sharp. No questions, no explanations, just be ready. That was how it worked with them, Jack and Diane. They called, I came running. Not because I wanted to, but because saying no never felt like it was an option. It was like they had this pull. These two planets colliding. And I guess I was just some sort of moon caught in their orbit. I remember the drive. We were cruising down Harbor Boulevard, past those sketchy motels with the half-broken neon signs, ones where the letters flicker, you know? The kind where you can tell they rent by the hour just by looking at the people in the parking lot. Diane was driving. She always drove. Jack was shotgun, slouched low, not saying much, just watching the road like he was hoping it'd give him an answer or a stop sign. I was in the back seat, feeling the tension rise, knowing something was coming but too scared to ask. Then Diane said it, just like that, all casual. we could hit them all tonight, one by one, in and out. I laughed. Thought it was a joke, But she wasn't laughing. She didn't even smile. Just kept her hands on the wheel, eyes straight ahead, like she'd already decided this is what was happening. "What do you think, Jack?" she asked, giving him that look she always gave when she wanted him to fold, like it was some sort of a test. Jack just sighed, deep, heavy, like he knew exactly where this was going. He said, "Diane, this is stupid." But he didn't say no. Jack never told her no.
What followed was reckless, unhinged, and, to some, downright surreal. Official reports describe the events of that night as a string of escalating crimes, though crime feels almost too clean a word for the chaos they unleashed. In the next hour, Jack and Diane, with Charlie in tow, targeted a series of motels and cash businesses along a 5-mile stretch of the city's busiest streets. 3 seriously injured, multiple storefronts vandalized, and yet, somehow, the chaos didn't start big. It started small, almost forgettable.
The first place was this rundown motel. The vacancy sign was half out, just blinking, Vac Y, like the universe itself was giving us the green light to keep going. Diane parked, jumped out and told me to keep the car running. I didn't ask why, didn't argue, just moved up to the driver's seat, sat there, hands sweating all over the wheel. I saw them go inside. Jack hesitated at the door, looked back at me like he was waiting for me to stop him. Diane opened the door and 2 minutes. That's how long it took. 2 minutes and they were back. Jack looking pale like he was gonna throw up. Diane tossing this crumpled paper bag of cash onto my lap like it was a trophy. "One down," she said, grinning. She told me to go, so I drove off. And you know what's strange? Part of me felt relieved. Like, hey, okay, they got away with it. Now it's over and nobody got hurt. We can go home. But it didn't stop there. It never stops there.
Oh, it most certainly did not stop there. The spree escalated. 3 more motels, 2 corner stores, a cash loan business, each stop bolder, riskier, fueled not just by desperation, but adrenaline. And the dynamic, well, it shifted. The reports paint Diane as the instigator, but Jack, he wasn't merely just a passenger. As the night wore on, his hesitation wore off. Witnesses from one stop recall him smiling devilishly as they fled the scene. But it was Charlie who saw the cracks forming, and the turning point, according to him, was the 3rd stop.
That was the one. We'd hit this sleazy little motel with a lobby straight out of a bad 80s movie. Diane walked in first, Jack right behind her, and I followed. And stupidly thought, okay, this'll be quick, nobody's gonna get hurt. But the guy behind the counter, he didn't play along. Big guy, mean, said the register was locked. That's when Diane pulled the gun. I didn't even know she had a gun. Jack's face went white, and for a second, I thought he was gonna bail, but he didn't. Instead, he reached into his jacket, pulled out this stupid fake Star Trek badge we'd picked up at a swap meet. And he goes dead serious. "It's okay. We're with the feds. I swear to God. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, United Federation of Planets." And it worked. The guy just froze. Diane was laughing so hard, she nearly dropped the damn gun. I ran out of there with the cash, and Jack was behind me, laughing. He leaned back in the seat and said, and I quote, "Maybe the world really is full of stupid people." Diane got in the car probably 30 seconds later, smiling ear to ear like she just won the lottery. I glanced back at the motel, didn't see the guy standing, but saw what looked like a body lying on the floor. I didn't ask what happened. It was then that I should have made them stop. I should have said something, but I didn't. Because in that moment, We weren't scared. We were untouchable. And that was the mistake.
As the spree escalated, so did their recklessness. What had begun as an adrenaline-fueled joyride was rapidly spiraling into something far more dangerous, more real. Charlie insists that there was a moment, one pivotal moment, irreversible moment, where the illusion shattered. The chaos they had been feeding on wasn't just thrilling anymore, it had turned deadly. This was the turning point. This was when the laughter stopped.
We just left the 5th stop, which turned out to be the last stop when it happened. Diane had just peeled out of the motel parking lot, the cash spilling out of her jacket onto the floor of the car. And she was still laughing. I remember it, because it was that shark kind of laugh. Too high, too loud, like she was trying to prove she wasn't scared. Like she was trying to stay in control. I don't even know how it escalated so fast. Jack was riding shotgun, quiet again. He always got quiet when the adrenaline wore off, like he was already starting to regret the whole thing, but couldn't figure out how to stop it. I wasn't even thinking about the money anymore. I was thinking about the flashing lights in the rear view, the sirens, the fact that I could feel the heat of the police closing in like they were pressing against my skin. Then it happened. The red light. Diane didn't slow down. Didn't even hesitate. She just blew through it, flooring the gas like she thought the speed would somehow erase the consequences. That's when I saw them. This family on the crosswalk. Mom, Dad, probably our age, and their kid. Little girl holding her dad's hand. I swear she had like a Mickey Mouse balloon or something. Goddamn Mickey. It's weird. The details you remember. We missed them by inches. Inches. Diane yanked the wheel, and the tires screamed so loud I thought they'd rip clean off the rims. The car lurched hard, barely skimming past the family. The mother stumbled back, clutching the kid, and I swear I saw the father yelling, but it was like everything slowed down, like the noise just cut out. Then came the cop car. They weren't so lucky. The cruiser swerved to avoid them, and in doing so, it clipped the minivan on the opposite side of the street head on. Glass exploded, metal crumpled. I remember the sound more than anything, that horrible, grinding crunch, the kind that makes your stomach flip, and just like that, everything froze. Diane wasn't laughing anymore. The grin she'd worn since this whole thing started, it was gone, vanished. Jack, God, his mouth was open like he was going to say something. But nothing came out. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. For a second, it felt like we could all hear it. The wail of the child, the groaning of the crushed metal behind us. And the sirens still there, but quieter somehow, muted, like the reality of it all had dulled the sound. I said it then. We've got to stop. I didn't yell, didn't beg, I just whispered it like a prayer. Jack nodded. I saw it, just his tiny, helpless nod like he knew. He knew. We were past the point of no return. But Diane, she shook her head once, then twice, and she pressed down harder on the gas. I swear, the whole car shook with the force of it. She didn't say anything, didn't look at me, didn't look at Jack, just kept staring straight ahead, jaw clenched, eyes hard, like she thought if she kept driving fast enough, she could outrun what we'd just done. But we couldn't. Because that was the moment it all changed. No more stupid stunts, no more fake badges or motel cash grabs. We weren't just running anymore. We were being hunted.
That crash proved that this was no longer a reckless adventure. It was a crime scene. The family survived, the officers too. But the driver of the minivan, he wasn't so lucky. Died on impact. A father of two. His name was Arturo Castillo.
When I heard about the crash a few days later, the Castillo guy, I couldn't shake the feeling it was all connected. I pulled up the report and saw those names again. Jack, Diane, Charlie, the same three I chased down that alley behind Mekong. A father of two, Arturo Castillo, killed instantly. And I just kept thinking, what if I had caught them that night at Mekong? What if I hadn't been a step behind? Maybe that family wouldn't have to deal with losing their dad. They got away once, and someone died because of it. That's the kind of stuff you carry around. The what ifs pile up, and it's not fair to blame yourself, but it's harder not to. Jack and Diane probably thought they were just outrunning the cops, but you can't outrun consequences forever. Eventually the chaos catches up. It always does.
And while Diane pressed the accelerator, the sirens behind her grew louder. Stay with us, because next, we'll break down the aftermath of the crime spree, the evidence, the impact, and the unraveling of 3 lives that would never be the same again. This is the Fizzy Fuzzy Chronicles. Thank you for listening. This has been a Stranger to Reality media production. We would like to thank the vocal talents of Christian Ledley as Jack Tremaine, Michelle Miller as Diane Parker, Darcy Thompson as Charlie McGregor, Chris Aubrey as Officer Cam Stevens. This podcast is a work of fiction. All names, characters, and events are entirely imaginary. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Stay tuned for part 4, The Fallout.